In this video, I'm going to go into detail on how I put a 5.3 4L60E into my 1993 Chevy S10 pickup. What parts I used, how to save some money, and hopefully help you if you're looking to swap one of these pickups or Blazers. So I make this video and it's middle of summer in Florida. So if you're watching this video and you see a bunch of flies flying around my face, that's just the way it is here. There's gnats, there's mosquitoes. On basically what I used, the things that I kind of got stuck on when I was LS swapping my S10. It was a Vortec 5.3 from a junkyard. It was from a 2004 Tahoe. And transmission, same thing. Probably 200 plus miles on both of those. I have no idea. Honestly, I really don't care. It was a gamble. So got the motor home, put it on the engine stand. I didn't pull the heads, but I did check into the cylinders. I have like a little bore scope, got down into the cylinders. All the cylinders look great. I mean, the motor was pretty clean. All the oil was clean. So wasn't really worried about it. Now I did put a Millings oil pump, new timing set, and gaskets. And for motor mounts, I used metaltek motor mounts. Those were great. They were really good welds, really good quality. They put the motor up really high. And yeah, everything fit great. I also used the eBay muscle car pan, which was another gamble because, you know, I paid, I think like they were on sale for like $110 or something like that at the time. And I'm like, well, whatever, you know, like if it sucks, I'll just send it back or whatever. But I get it home, and you know, I go to put it on, and the oil dipstick was really difficult to get in. The oil pickup tube was bent. This is just Chinese quality, you know what I mean? It's not very good quality stuff. They're all made in the same China factory, but you get what you pay for. That's what everybody says. So I got what I paid for, and I'm happy with what I paid for, even though I had to bend the oil dipstick a little bit. I had to bend the windage tray a little bit, but other than that, I mean, you know, everything bolted on, and nothing that wasn't usable. So, you know, just a little bit of tweaking, and it fit perfect. The new O-ring fit in there perfect for the oil pickup. So no complaints there for the the eBay oil pan. I used hooker. I used hooker. I used Holley hooker, S10 cast. Yes. Anyways, I used hooker, Holley, S10 swap cast manifolds. Those fit great. They clear everything. They clear the frame. They clear the oil pan. They clear the steering shaft. I used while we're on there, I used an Astrovan steering shaft. You can use a Jeep shaft. You can use the Holley shaft, whatever you want. The Astrovan shaft, it collapses, which is pretty cool. Really easy to put in, bolt-in deal. So another issue is the steering shaft. Of course, everybody has this issue, and I'm using an Astrovan steering shaft. Now this thing collapses right there in the center. It collapses. So it is really easy to put in. You don't need to unbolt the column at all. You don't need to take loose the steering box. You don't need to do any of that. It's a bolt-in deal. So Chevy Astrovan. Now you can also get the Jeep shaft. Works exactly the same. I ended up going with an Astrovan just because my buddy had one. And then I used an eBay harness. So there are many eBay harnesses, right? They're all made for a Camaro. They're not made for a truck. They're not made for a Vortec engine. But there is a patriot, should I say, like a genius on YouTube right now. And I'll put his YouTube channel in the description and the video that you want to watch, because he repins the entire drive-by cable eBay harness. And if it wasn't for him, I would have been diagging this thing for hours. I would have thought I had a bad transmission. So I did have some issues, which I'll go into detail. Wiring harness. This one's a factory 411 drive-by cable ECU from Silverado, Tahoe, whatever. And this harness, which is obviously a rat's nest, it was $80 off of eBay. I think the company is JK whatever, I don't know. I'll post a link or a picture here, but I paid $80. Everything plugs in. Everything's obviously China quality, but the only thing that I care about is if it works. I don't care about, you know, these are all made in China. I don't care what anybody says. These are all made in the same factory, I'm sure, in China. And it's just one is a little bit more expensive and uses better quality parts, better connectors, better wire, but they're all made in China. And I was not paying $900 for a wiring harness that bolted into the factory bulkhead. So what I did, I just went on, got a wiring schematic, and you cannot see anything. I don't even know why I'm showing you this. You cannot see anything from here, but all I did was I took the LS standalone and I wired it into the factory bulkhead wires that mattered. Everything else I depinned. So I wanted to keep my oil pressure gauge. I wanted to keep my wiper motor, you know, ignition, 12-volt source, things like that. I wired it. I just got a wiring schematic. You can find them anywhere on any S10 group, any S10 forum. You can find them. I know that my 93 was different wiring colors than the older ones from the 80s. So you want to make sure that you figure that out. But I'll post as much stuff as I possibly can in these videos so that you can get an understanding of what I'm talking about. But for $80, this wiring harness runs the truck. I did have an issue here in the harness right off of the connectors. There is a white wire here. And basically, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but basically it controls the alternator plug somehow. Yeah, I know this one's red and this one's white, so don't ask me, but there's a YouTube video out there where this guy's a genius and he really did a solid for the community. But he basically depinned everything. He depinned everything and repinned it. These harnesses are made for Camaros. So what he did is took wiring harness from the Camaro and he depinned it and repinned it to Silverado. So basically this wire goes into right about here, and there will be 4 wires. So you have 2 on this side, you have 2 on this side, right? All you do is flip-flop them and resolder them. So the problem was I was getting 12 volts at this connector. There's only 1 wire here. I was getting 12 volts with the truck off, key out. So obviously I was killing my battery. Once I swapped those wires, just like he said in the video, he's very detailed, very clear. Once I did that, I had no issues. So another issue I had was take it down the street, goes first, second gear, third gear, and then it stayed in third gear. Drove it a while like that, maybe 10-15 minutes, just get all the, you know, see if it had any bugs, which obviously that was the one bug that it had. So take it back, scan it, and 3-2 shift solenoid code came up. So obviously something is making the transmission not shift back into second. So my first reaction was, oh, this is a used junkyard transmission, and you know, who knows, maybe I got a bad transmission. But the first time I watched that video that I was talking about, where the guy repins everything, genius. And I didn't watch it the whole way through, but if I had, I would already knew what the issue was. So later on in that video, he goes on to explain that what they did on the trans connector, the big circle trans connector that plugs into the top of the transmission, what they did was there was one wire that was in the wire loom, right, but was not pinned into the connector. It was just looped and then wrapped up with electrical tape inside of the wire loom. So I guess on the Camaros they don't use that. So all I had to do was cut the wire loom a little bit, take out that wire, pin it into the big round connector that goes into the transmission, and plug the connector back into the transmission, and problem solved. There it is. Just as he said, white wire coming from blue 79, controls the 3-2 shift solenoid, the exact code that I'm getting. So for an $80 harness, I only ran into 2 issues, and they were very easy to fix, all because of one man's YouTube video. So watch his YouTube video, subscribe to his channel. I don't care, whatever you do, but the guy's a genius and he's awesome for doing that. So I also used the V6 S10 Blazer radiator, and I used Dodge Intrepid fans. I did recess the radiator to fit the radiator back in there. There is a ton of videos out there on how to recess the radiator. There's a few videos on where to cut it and everything like that. I think it's just going to be one of those things where you need to get up in there and just kind of do it yourself. So, you know, you can see, put a little bit of rubber around it, but I kind of just cut it out so that it didn't hit the cap or anything like that. I have it recessed in there a good bit. I think it's pretty flush with the core support. And then I'm using the factory rubber bushings on the top and bottom, and it's kind of just wedged in there. I don't know if you can see those down there. It's kind of just wedged in there. I lifted up on this a little bit. I kind of made a boo-boo cut there, but you know, whatever. I think I hit this spot here with a hammer because that's where the rubber bushing goes, just to kind of wedge it back in there a little bit further. And again, I mean, this, I don't know, this truck's real budget. I didn't really care about it. I just wanted to get it on the road. But the thing that's really holding this thing in place is those Intrepid fans. So these are the Dodge Intrepid fans that everybody goes with. I think these are like the 5 blades, so they're not even like the more powerful one. I just have them running off of 2 little relays there. That's Amazon. And so I basically have it bolted. You can see it there. So the radiator, I have the radiator bolted to the fan support, or I'm sorry, to the core support. And then down here, I have a bolt going into the bottom of the fan there. And then I bent that L bracket, drilled a couple holes. This is one on this side, one on the other side. Drilled a couple holes and just bolted it right in place. So this thing is solid. I mean, it's not going anywhere. You know, you can tug on it, hit a bump, and you don't have to worry about it. As for the radiator hoses, this is a factory Tahoe Silverado upper radiator hose. Wow, it's really hot. And it's bent a little bit here, not much. I think I cut it down a little bit there. I still have this clamp. This clamp was leaking, and I just haven't took the Dremel and hacked it off yet. But I think I cut it down a little bit here because it fit better. 9906 Silverado for the lower hose. Chevy S10 or Blazer radiator. I didn't use the trans cooler ports. I didn't use the oil cooler ports because I don't really care about that. I have an external Hayden cooler. The temp stay 150. Used the throttle cable from a Silverado as well. Throttle cable is a factory Silverado throttle cable, and I have Trailblazer SS intakes, so I used Glenn's Auto, their bracket. I think that was like 15 bucks. In here I used a bicycle cable stop. See how much slack is on that? So, I mean, you could do this however you want. You could use whatever, I don't know, nut and bolt, I don't care. But these were like, I think you got like 30 of them for like $6 off Amazon. I mean, I might be lying. It might be like 10 of them or whatever for $12, but who cares? You know, pedal gives me no issues. Used Silverado shift cable. I used factory Silverado or Tahoe. This one's from a Tahoe shifter cable. So basically you can see if I can focus it. I just used a long bolt. I would try and get a shorter one than that. But basically long bolt with a nut on the end. And inside of that rubber bushing, I have a small spacer. I mean, all this stuff can be bought at Lowe's. So bolted it straight to factory column bracket. Yeah, it goes in all the gears. The first is really close. That's why I recommended a shorter bolt. Then I have it wrapped around. I just used the factory bolt for that one. Come down, it goes in there and then out the fender. Now this bracket here, this bracket right here that's holding this thing in place, that's actually the factory bracket from the Tahoe that is on the transmission side. So for that, with the 2 bolts, I have 2 there, but drilled into the firewall, right? Drilled into the firewall, and I used 2 rib nuts with 2 M6 bolts. Now this bracket I'm talking to you about, oh man, I'm getting old. Oh, I'm getting old, I'm getting fat and old. Now this bracket I'm telling you about is this bracket right under here. What I did, see right there, right where it goes in, right at that little indent, I cut it with a whiz wheel or cut off wheel or grinder, whatever. Now that bracket is what I'm using on the firewall. And that's the bracket that holds the shift cable in place. So as you can see, it bolts to the factory tab, right? This factory bracket right here, that's from the Silverado as well. Everything's Silverado on this transmission. It's a 4L60E. So what I did, you know, it loops around. You know, you don't have to follow me 100%. It comes around, right, makes its way up into the firewall. I'll go over the power steering. So this power steering pump, this is Truck Accessories factory Silverado power steering pump. Now there is 2 different power steering pumps, and of course with the motor that I got the one that I couldn't use. There's like a little nipple that comes up right here, and I believe it goes to the hydro boost on like the Suburbans and stuff like that. But this is all Silverado stuff, literally all Silverado stuff. So see if I can jam this light somewhere. So with this, right, not much information on this. I mean, maybe there is, but I'm too lazy to Google. This is a factory Silverado pressure line. That's the factory return. And then this line right here, that's just like a 90 that I bought off of Amazon. I think it was like 10 bucks. I mean, if I can find the link, I'll post it in the description. And then those two hoses there go to a newer S10 power steering cooler. And I just pulled that off of like I don't know, 94 to whatever they are, 99 or something like that. I don't know, whatever the second gens are. I just pulled it right off of there. So no issues there. I want to say I bent this line, this metal line. I want to say I bent that a little bit. I want to say I bent that a little bit, but very slight, nothing major. As far as the exhaust, that was probably the hardest part. I took a Silverado 3-inch wide pipe, some guy was selling it on Marketplace for 50 bucks. I basically cut it up, I hacked it, welded it, and I made it work. It works for now. You can go out and spend the $800 or whatever you want on the Holley one. Wasn't doing that. I mean, I think all in all in this truck, I probably have about 2,500 bucks. Don't tell the wife that. But if I bought a donor truck, I probably could have did it for free, in all honesty. You figure if you bought a donor truck for $1,000 even if you bought it for 1,500 bucks, and it had a good motor and a good trans, you know, you're saving. I paid $500 for my motor and I paid $400 for my trans. That's $900 right there. If I bought a donor truck, that was basically a chunk of the donor truck. Once you have the donor truck, you part it out. You pull the motor, you pull the trans, you pull the cable, the shift cable, you pull the all the power steering stuff off, take all the accessories, the ECU, and you keep what you need and you sell everything else. You sell the body panels, you sell the wheels, you sell everything that you possibly can. Get a tow truck to come and pick it up from your yard and scrap it. And I'm sure that you can probably swap one of these for close to nothing. I mean, I'd say a couple $100. If I wasn't impatient and I didn't live in Florida, then I probably would have just bought a donor truck. But a donor truck here in Florida, you're talking, you know, 1,500 bucks does not get you a running vehicle. Nothing rusts here. So if it runs, it's still worth thousands of dollars, according to Florida. You know, I'm from Pittsburgh. I could have picked up a rotted out Tahoe, you know, for 1,200 bucks, 1,000 bucks, who knows, maybe even cheaper. Running, driving, shifting, no problems. So, you know, hopefully this video helps you out. You know, this, like I said, there's many ways to do this. People do this all the time. I'm not the first one to do it, and I won't be the last one to do it. Hopefully you do it if you're watching this video. Do it right. Do it how you want it. You know, build your truck how you want it. This truck isn't the greatest. It's not the fastest, but I have so much fun driving it. And to me, I think that's all that matters, right? You know, people put turbos on these things and they fly. They're lightweight and they look sweet. And the door slams really hard when you shut it. And it doesn't have anything that these new cars have. And, you know, when you put a good sounding muffler on there, the thing sounds amazing. That's all we're looking for, guys. We're just looking for something sweet, right? So hopefully this video helps you swap one of these and have as much fun in it as I do. And, you know, I can tell you right now, if you have kids, they're gonna love it too. They might not love you going out and buying all the stuff and, you know, staying up late to put the stuff in, but they're definitely gonna have a smile on their face when you drive the thing to go get ice cream. So it's probably gonna rain, so I'm gonna stop this video and pull my truck in.